the series that continues tonight between the Warriors and the Timberwolves is an interesting one because Steph Curry is out with a grade 1 hamstring strain, which just means, by the way, when they say it's a strain, it's a tear. Grade 1 means it's a tiny little tear. It's not off the bone. Everything's okay, but you don't get to play the next day. You don't get to play the next week. They've announced that Steph Curry is day-to-day, looking like a rumor, according, I think, to Shams, I assume, though when Tuesday follows Monday, I say that's according to Shams, that he could miss a week. My experience with hamstrings, with our players, a week would be a gift from heaven. I think the odds are far more likely it's more than a week, even a grade 1 strain. But without violating HIPAA considerations and doing reckless speculation, which I don't need to do, the fact is Steph Curry is not available for tonight's game 2, and it's a obvious must-win for the Timberwolves. So the line, which is subject to change, has moved with Steph not playing. There were reports that it was up to a 5-point difference Steph makes. So instead of Minnesota giving 5.5, they're giving 10.5. And those type of lines are not as important as they used to be because you have to focus on them when you're making your play. But the Celtics were favored probably by 10.5 last night. We'll see in our pick of the day. And they didn't win the game. So it's a pretty must-win situation for the T-Wolves. What the coaches are doing now in posturing ahead of this game is so reminiscent of Chuck Daly when he coached the Pistons, or Phil Jackson when he coached the Bulls and then the Lakers, or Pat Riley when he coached the Knicks and then the Heat. Back in those days, coaches would meet the media because there was no social media, no internet, and you'd only see the clips on the news at 5, 6, and 11. And the clips would all be the coaches doing things for the umpires or the referees to hear. What they would say is, Patrick Ewing is not being called properly. You're not calling enough fouls on his moves. He's the best offensive center in history. He deserves more calls. Phil Jackson, despondent that the Detroit Pistons are getting away with the things they got away with back when they were the bad boys before the Bulls were able to overcome them and start winning their 6 championships in 6 straight years that Jordan played. You don't see a lot of this type of complaining on the hacks like we did yesterday. And I want to start with Chris Finch, who's the coach of the Timberwolves, and I want to end with Steve Kerr, who's the coach of the Warriors, and I want you to listen to what they said and smile along with me.
The rebounding, they do a lot of fouling, holding, shoving, pushing, and tackling Rudy. That's clear. We'll send a bunch of those clips into the league. In fact, I'm not sure I know another player in the league with Rudy's pedigree that is allowed to be physically beaten on the way he is. And so, we gotta address that one way or another.
Rudy's pedigree. Did that sound like a coach trying to give a message to a referee? Did it sound like a coach saying, listen, there's a real problem here that we're having with the Golden State Warriors, and he's referring to Draymond Green, but he could be referring to anyone. It doesn't much matter. What he's trying to do is get the league to pay attention to the trend and then meet with the referees before the game and say, look for this. Because when referees are assigned to a game or umpires are assigned to a game, they're always met with by the league. They're often met with, believe it or not, by executives on the other teams, on the teams that are playing. And they're given sort of an idea, hey, let's make sure we pay attention to Rudy Gobert in the paint. Let's make sure we pay attention to off-ball elbowing, where there's jostling going on under the rim on the weak side. Let's make sure we remember that there was a fight between X and Y 2 years ago, and now they're against each other again. Let's watch out for that. You get a list. There's a list of issues, much like the list of records that could be broken that particular game, or a list of things that are going on that particular game. The umpires and referees are aware of it all. Whether they remember at the time during the game is a different story, but they're aware of it all. So Finch choosing Gobert is an interesting one for me because the day before he went after Anthony Edwards saying, you got to be our leader. You can't score 1.5 points and then change the way you play, not bring the effort. Anthony Edwards is his star. Anthony Edwards is his best player. Generally, when you're complaining to the media and getting the message to the referees, it's about your best player. You want to protect him. Anthony Edwards deserves that type of protection, regardless of what happened on and off the court, regardless of how Chris Finch thinks about his first half or his effort. As I told you, when you lose at home and you don't hit the ball, you get one hit or you look like you're flat, you look like there's no effort. It's not the case. But using Rudy Gobert, I don't think the referees could actually care less to give Rudy Gobert the benefit of any doubt. The person of his pedigree, what pedigree? The spitting on the mic pedigree? I guess there's other pedigrees. All right. On the other side of the ball, Steve Kerr has his own problems. Listen to what he said that he wanted the referees to hear.
Said the first 10 minutes of the game, it was just like Houston all over again. They were bear hugging Steph, and they could have called 6 fouls. But the league has established the physicality in the playoffs. Chris talked about it last week. Just the overall physicality isn't, to me, it's crazy out there. What's happening. I got my complaints too. Trust me, we all do, and this is how it works in the playoffs. We watch the tape. We see all the fouls on them that aren't called. They watch the tape. They see all the ones on us that weren't called. It's a physical game. It's just going to be. And both teams have to adjust. I'm getting ready to send my own clips into the league. So
that is John Henry owning the Red Sox and complaining about small markets because he doesn't own the Marlins anymore. Steve Kerr. Do you know how Steve Kerr's career started? Do you know the rings he has playing on the Bulls, being coached by Phil Jackson, having Dennis Rodman? He certainly can't be serious when he's talking about, hey, they're doing stuff. It can't be. It can't be that the league wants to allow this. You were guilty of it in the most significant way. And now you're on the other side, you're coaching, and you want to make sure that your boys are protected. The thing about that, though, is why would you ever complain about how Steph Curry is being treated when you know Steph Curry is not playing? Is that because he couldn't exactly talk about Draymond Green? When you coach Draymond Green and you start complaining about physical play and bear hugging and things that are done that are just cheap and crappy, you're talking about Draymond Green, your own player, but you can't, so you don't mention his name. And you pretend that you're the victim. And listen, as a professional victim player, I can tell you what the benefits are and what the detriments are. The benefits of playing the victim are you have this feeling that you are going to get some sort of sympathy from whoever you are trying to portray the victim, whoever you're talking to, whatever you're talking about. You're trying to come out as, oh, it's me. It's because of me. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. But the problem is when you do that and you have no credibility because the person you're talking to is like, you're not a victim. You're the perp. All of a sudden, whatever you've said becomes meaningless.